This is a series of 12 interviews by Jeroen Junte. We started this in 2017 after the award-winning presentation we had in Milan. May I have your attention with Maarten Baas. Jeroen Junte, for the people who do not know him, Jeroen is the most respected, the most serious journalist in the field of architecture and design in the Netherlands. He's an author of various books about these topics. Then Fabio is family for me, is like a brother for me. We know each other more than 20 years, Fabio. 20 years ago, you did a lecture on an award which I organized with the magazine The Architect in the Netherlands, and we instantly became friends. We see each other frequently, and that's always a super great pleasure for me. And we're presenting here also a product, what you designed and what we are producing. It's when you leave this space, it's on the right-hand side, so please check it out after these interviews. So I'm very happy that in this occasion we have you here, Fabio. This is a very special. May I have your attention, please? It is the first one not in Amsterdam but in Eindhoven, and it is the first one who is in English, so more international. Then it was incredibly difficult to find the second person, the co-person to interview, because who is more or less equal to Fabio? Jeroen, we went through many names, but on top was always Lara, and I'm really very happy that Lara could find the time in a busy agenda to join us, and that she is willing to do this. And then I now would like to give the microphone to Jeroen. So,
I've got my own. I always got my own microphone, Hans. Lesson number 1 if you're an interviewer. Get the mic first. Welcome, everybody. Thank you for being here. For the people in the back, we've got some beautiful spots right up front here lined up for you. We've kept them open for you. So please join us here at the front. Yes, welcome, everybody. Thank you for your cheerful words, Hans. And thank you, Hans, also for giving me the opportunity to do this series of interviews, which I not only enjoy doing a lot, but it's also a big opportunity to get the designers on stage and question them on their work and or their inspirations and their thoughts. I've got 2 household remarks, and the first is, of course, the telephone. Do keep them on, please keep them on. Switch the sound off, but keep them on Twitter and Facebook and Instagram and Pinterest and Snapchat and whatever you do on social media. So let the world know that everybody who's not here, what they are missing, because this is a great opportunity of these 2 international guests, which add sort of an international flavor to the Dutch Design Week, because we're bringing in those 2 stars from Milan and London. So there's like all of a sudden a cosmopolitan flavor here tonight. I'll run you briefly through the program. First, I'll have an interview with Fabio, around 30-40 minutes, and then another 20-30 minutes, an interview with Lara. And after that, we hope to see you all at the bar, because after all, this is a Lensvelt event. And as usual, the most important and the most intelligent things are usually said at the bar after the event. So I definitely hope to join you there for drinks. Okay, so much for the practicalities. You see these 2 names here. And I have to click that way. That was a very specific instruction. It was, yes, Italian design, global appeal. And I think that all sums it up. Fabio Novembre. I don't think he really needs a very big introduction. He's been in the game since 1988. And he's done since then, he's done architecture, interior, products, shops, hotels, and you name it, he probably touched it with his golden hands. So, may I please have a first of all, please may I have your attention, but I'm looking that's already done, that's covered, check. And then, may I please have a very, very warm welcome for Fabio Novembre. Fabio, can I invite you to the stage? No, the spot in the middle, of course, the spot in the middle. Today I was thinking to myself, who the fuck is Fabio Novembre? I was funny that you wear that shirt because I was thinking that exactly this afternoon. So I said, like, let's go to his website. And you, in the category, all designers, they have like on their websites, they have a category bio or about. And usually it says I went to school on that age, and then I did an internship there, and then I had my first exhibition there, and then I worked at Capellini Driade, blah blah blah. You have something quite different, and it feels like, oh man, I want to get some background, some sleaze, preferably. No, but I want to get some background on what you've done. What good is this to me? And then I started reading, and then actually I sort of thought, like, this tells me more who you are and who you think about design than actually showing all the works. But still, why did you choose like this poetic description of yourself? Did you write it yourself?
Of course I did. And I think it's very difficult to do a resume of your work. I mean, to do a CV, to collect yourself in words that tells a story. So it's better to say, like, your intentions, you know, who you want to be. I mean, I really want to love till I die and want to breathe till I choke. I mean, it's really that. Plus, if you don't put kind of a poetic lens in front of your eyes, everything looks, you know, a little hard. So I decided from the very beginning. And actually, you know, I put on this T-shirt because I hoped that you would help me answer this question.
Yeah, okay.
Because I think it takes a life answering this question, right?
Okay, well, the thing is, there's not one word about design. Not even the word design is not on there. And there's architect, and it's between architect, yeah, right. That in that sort of way. But again, what makes you a designer? What is it that makes you a designer?
So first of all, I strongly think that we are all designers. Because basically, what does it mean being a designer? Being a designer means to change the conditions that surround you, right? But this is exactly what makes humans special compared to the other species on the planet. So we are all designers. We all modify the conditions around us. It's just that we work on shapes. Okay, probably designers, architects, call it whatever you want, but however you want. But it's dealing with shape, trying to shape in things. And that it takes a peculiar skill, let's say, but everybody is able to do it. I mean, I really try to make it simpler. You know, since I was a kid, first of all, I didn't belong to the category of kids that know what they will do when they will grow up. You know, there are some kids that say, I'll be an astronaut. And I start clapping because, I mean, to be so precise when you're a kid, it's so difficult. And actually, you know, it took me more than 20 years to kind of understand the direction that I wanted to take in my life, you know? And probably still, it's not so secure, you know what I mean? Because what does it mean to be an architect nowadays? I face every kind of topic. I go from graphic to big buildings. You know, so, I mean, there was an Italian architect, Ernesto Nathan Rogers, in 1952. He stated this beautiful sentence, from the spoon to the city. That's the Italian method. And it actually works like that. You know, I didn't attend any design school. At my time, when I studied, there was only the University of Architecture. And all the people like Achille Castiglioni, Alessandro Mendini, Ettore Sozzas, I mean, the big maestros of Italian design, they all came out from University of Architecture. So let's say that the method was really going from the small scale to the big scale. And it's still the same. I mean, okay, let's put it this way. When I go in the United States, they really don't understand what I'm talking about. Because they're so specialized, you know, like I work on glasses, but glasses in glass, and big like these, and with the diameter like this. You know what I mean? They're so fucking specialized. Italians are not at all. You know, there's a beautiful sentence about Italian. It says, people good for nothing, but capable of everything. And in some ways, I really think that Italians are that way. You know, I mean, we live in a beautiful geographic situation, so we are quite lucky under this point of view. And that's probably the reason why lots of beautiful things came from that place. It's not a matter of who the Italians are, but where they are situated, where they are located. You know, I think that has a lot to do with the fact of Italian design and these Italian creations. You know, really, it's about the location.
Okay. You said that you do all different sort of things, and you're sort of the non-specialist, the designer universalis. But then again, after all, I'm a journalist, so let's start with something new, right? This couch, you know, it has something to it. You know, I probably wouldn't immediately would have said this is a Fabio Novembre, but if I see it and somebody tells this is a new couch of Fabio Novembre, I think, of course. And we're going to run through some other designs of yours, so you may not think that you do that you do all these different kind of things, but you have this very distinct signature in your work. Is that something that you really work on, and that's something you guard?
I think that everybody that calls himself a designer or a creator should have a very distinctive touch. I'm very strongly convinced about that. You know, so that really, I'm not into followers. I'm into people that really research, explore. I mean, all the researchers that I met in these days, Richard is in first row, you know, I mean, it's like, I love researchers, you know, and I appreciate their work. I mean, for example, this is an exploration I'm doing with sofas. You know, sofas are all about comfort and stability. When you sit on a couch, you don't want to be bothered with any kind of ideas. And it's like, I give you certainties. That's what designers with couches do. They give you certainties. I'm not certain about anything in my life, you know, so that it's all about uncertainties, you know, a new balance. Or with Caperina, I did another one that was called adaptation. I'm working on the non-balance, on a new balance, actually, because life is all made of new balances. You know, you cannot trust a sofa. You know, at least try to reinvent it. Plus, you know, I was doing a conference, something like a few months ago, with Antonio Scitterio, and he was trying to convince me that he had changed the feet to a very squared sofa, and that was a revolution. I was saying, Antonio, excuse me, don't give me this bullshit. I totally don't believe that, you know what I mean? It's like, you need a back thinking to anything you do. I mean, and that's actually what I was going to tell before. It doesn't matter, and that's what I always say in schools, the medium of communication that you select to talk to the world. What is very important is what you want to say with that medium of communication. So being a designer for me is a tool. It's all about what do you want to say with that tool, with that specific tool. The skillness in using the tool, of course, it helps. But it's all about which kind of message you want to deliver through the tool. And that's why really my CV is like that, you know? I mean, my message has always been a love message. I mean, you can call me cheesy a little bit. And sometimes I've been cheesy. But really, I think the love is really probably the thing that will never go out of fashion. You know what I mean? I always say love and beauty will never go out of fashion. So let me talk about love and beauty. I will keep on talking about love and beauty all my life.
We'll come there later on. Don't worry. This is your first design, right? For B&B Italia, an Italian company. After all, you have the Italian designer with the global flavor. What is the comparison? You said like it's not about the medium you choose, but the message you spread. And of course, it's love. It's quite a general one. It's been en vogue since the 60s. But between, and even before that, but is there the same language, same message between this one and this one? I got it right.
No, actually, it's very different because this goes back to when I was 21 years old. It was for my industrial design examination in school. And I came out with this chair. It was like really like, I mean, my father used to sell furnitures. So it's like mine is an evolution of his work. He used to sell furniture, and I used to design furniture. So it's like really an evolution. So I've always been around furnitures. For me, in that case, was like exploring the potentials of a chair. Like closing it in one sheet, because that one actually closes into the other. I mean, it was really like going to the bones of all the things that had been around me all my life. But if you go to New Balance, go please on the other. I mean, that's a much deeper thought. I mean, of course, growing old, on Monday I'm going to turn 53. People look at me as an old fart sometimes. I mean, I'm old. I mean, like, you have to accept the fact that time is passing by. But of course, the more energy you lose, hopefully, the wiser you become. And deeper your thoughts maybe are.
So this is a couch you could have not made on your 21st or
Not
22nd?
at all, not at all. No. I was full of certainties. Actually, you know what? 5 years ago.
You were full of certainties?
I was full of certainties. 5 years ago, I broke up with my wife. We had been 16 years together. We had 2 daughters. And she left me, like, very suddenly. Okay, I was completely destroyed. It took me a few years to recover. But you know what? Nowadays, after 5 years, I can say I'm a better man than what I used to be. And you know what? I was talking about this with Hans yesterday. Because I've been a winner all my life. Everything I wanted to achieve, I could achieve. And so this kind of shipwreck, this kind of disaster made me more human. I'm ready to accept the limits in everyone. And that's beautiful. I mean, all these sofas, there's a lot to do with that.
Yeah.
No, it's really a new balance, the capacity to adapt to new conditions. I think that has a lot to do with maturity, with growing old. I could have never been like that when I was 30. When I was 30, I could have broken that wall with my own fists. You know what I mean? It's like, you feel like you're super powerful. You're fucking Superman.
Yeah.
But then,
Well, there is a fragility and also an uncertainty in these couches. Am I not going to fall or anything? Do you really take your designs so personal? Your inspirations, for example, was this before or after the divorce? Yeah, I can't help asking it.
This was
looks
before.
kind of fragile, I must say.
This was before, and there's a connection line between when I was a kid and when I grew old. I mean, it's like I always thought, what happens under the tables? Because what happens up on the tables, everybody's able to understand. 72 centimeters from the ground, and everything, you dine, you write, whatever. But what happens under the table? People that touches feet, that that you go, you see under the skirts. You know what I mean? It's like, for me, that there was a word under a table. And so it was like a jungle. I mean, this is interesting. It's 175 legs. Only 4 of them are supporting are real, are in metal. All the other are just cords. But it's like a magic touch. I remember when I showed it in 2001 in Milano for Cappellini, all the perimeter line is soft. So people was touching the cords, and they were saying, what the fuck? How can it stand up? When design can achieve this kind of sensations, I think it's really strong. I mean, it's like people, actually, I heard some people saying, they're all soft, but there are many. So probably they hold the glass anyway. And it was fun. That's the magic of design. Design should do this as well, And yeah.
Well, there's definitely wrong side. There's definitely a playful, but also a very sensual aspect to your work. If we look at these curves, it's a recurring aesthetical choice.
Yeah. Do you have a picture of this sofa by itself? Because I want to say something.
No. I don't.
Okay. So I explain you something about this sofa. Because this sofa was 2001, 1 year after the table. And I went to Giulio Cappellini with the design of one curve. And they said, Giulio, this is your new sofa. I said, Fabio, what the fuck are you talking about? Because it was a curve, you see that curve, and they're all the same, so you can mold it, you can make a mold. But on itself, it doesn't stay. It doesn't stand. It's a curve. Of course, it folds. And he said, Fabio, but how can you sell this? I said, at least you have to buy 2. It's like people. I strongly believe that a man alone is in a bad company. That's what Paul Valéry used to say. A man alone is in a bad company. I strongly believe that. You have to be with someone you love. You have to, actually love is the best way of going beyond selfishness. Because we always think about ourselves. Me, I'm beautiful. It's like always relating to yourself. Love is the first time in which you start opening yourself to another person. And then the love goes to your kids and then to your friends. And then, love opens a lot of borders. And that's beautiful. So that for me, this sofa was exactly this declaration. One is not enough. 2, 3, 4. It's even, it's more solid. The more we are, the more solid it is. It's called and, like the conjunction in English. And actually, if you mirror the word and, it's DNA, right? It was really the new DNA for an inclusive generation. I strongly believe that you have to do manifestos with the things you do. Otherwise, what the fuck? Why do you want to be a designer? What for?
Can you clarify what you mean with making manifestos?
Key manifestos means to do strong statements. Do you have the my door handle? I always show my door handle. It's called Love Opens Doors.
You should have told me then.
Yeah,
Because I do have the air lounge.
No, this is so the flow.
No, I don't. I can tell you now, it's not.
We didn't plan this. You, of course, you understand that, right?
It was going pretty well until now.
But because I really wanted to be free on stage. You don't have to prepare that much, you have to be sincere.
What he's saying is I choose the images and I choose them poorly.
No, but that's very important. For me, it's like collective therapy. It's much better, right?
Oh, no, now I really have to be careful.
But anyway, a door handle producer came to my studio a few years ago, and he said, Fabio, I want you to design a door handle for me. And I was in big trouble. You know why? Because I hate doors. So in order to design door handle, you have to conceive the fact that in your places there are doors. And I hate doors. But why? Doors, of course, is a symbol of definition, of separation. And so I said, okay, I accept the task. It's difficult for me, but I'll try to make something. And I started from the curved cylinder. That's the simplest door handle you can find. You just carve a tube. But I just took off matter from the tube, forming a heart. And so the title of the object that you don't see, but eventually you can go on the internet, is called Love Opens Doors, which is, the titles are always big manifestos. Do you know the painting from Gustave Courbet, 1866? It's called L'Origine du Monde.
Yeah,
okay, it's a very sexual topic, right? It's the women of the legs of a woman spread. But when you title such a painting, L'Origine du Monde, you completely change the perception of that painting, right? And so if you call this Love Opens Doors, you have to hold to a heart in order to open any door, to go through any barrier. It clears the point to me. Actually, words are very important. Sometimes you call your house apartment, right? Apartment is a shitty word. Think about it. To put things apart. Do we want to put things apart? No. Call your house or home. Call it home. Call it my cave, my family. You know what I mean? It's like words are important. Don't call your house apartment, please, from today on.
You mentioned therapy. Well, I don't want to get too Freudish with you, but the female body is a recurring element in your work. Why? I mean, there are like so many images and inspirations you can draw from.
It's very simple. I mean, you have to give some clues about the people you meet, okay? Okay, I give you some clues about me. I was born in the south of Italy 53 years ago. I'm heterosexual. So you have to understand that 53 years ago, to chase a girl was very hard. You know, it's like, was the most important goal to go out with the girl, to arrive to kiss her. You know, I mean, it's like, was the most powerful motivation. And that stayed, you know, that motivations move you. That's all. I mean, I always adored women because they balance everything. You know, I always tell this little story that comes from a very interesting book called Symposium. It's a book from the Greek philosopher Plato, you know. And there is an interesting interpretation of love. You know, that it says that humans used to be only one, not divided in men and women. And all the goddesses were hating the humans because, you know, they were happy and going all over the planet, you know, like having fun and stuff. And of course, the goddesses of the Olympus were envious. You know, what the fuck is going on with these humans? They're too happy. And we're always fighting with each other. So they went to Zeus, the boss of the gods. And they said, Zeus, excuse me, you have to do something with these humans. They're breaking our balls, you know. And he put all of them in line. And one by one, all the humans were divided in masculine and feminine, in men and women. You know, with the I'd say fulmine, with the spark, no, I'd say
Thunder.
Thunder, with the thunder. Of course, Zeus was full of thunders, you know the story, right? And it's very funny because it kind of condemns the humans to find the original harmony just connecting with each other. And I love that thing. You know, I always think that, you know, by myself, I'm nothing. I have to trust a woman. I have to be with a woman. Actually, I had 2 daughters. And I strongly think that, you know, they gave me a very strong female side. Because I'm very much male. Very much. It's such a limitation of my vision of life. And so having 2 daughters helped me a lot. You know, as I told you, that the fact that I became more human after my separation, you know, because, you know, I was not invincible anymore. And finally. Okay. And having 2 daughters helped me a lot to get the female side. And having the female side helps you so much.
On that female perspective, do you think this is still appropriate in the age of Me Too?
I must tell you, I have a problem with the United States. Not only
No.
Not only because
I
Trump.
asked you a question.
Not only because of Trump. No, but because when I show these pictures in the United States, they say that I'm a women exploiter. You know that. I mean, and there is a man. There is exactly the version for the ass of the man. You know what I mean? It's like
I Google imaged him in her chair, and this was the first one I got. So there is probably a male version, but
really,
not on the first page on Google.
No, but really, it's funny. In the United States, I mean, of course, I think that Me Too is very important in order to balance. You have to arrive to a limit, to the opposite limit in order to establish a good balance, right? So that Me Too is a bit harsh under many points of view. It's like witch hunting, but it's doing very important things, of course. Because I strongly believe, of course, that this is a male world. You know, all the power positions are in the hands of male. And I think it's strongly wrong, very wrong. I think that women should rule the world because they have a different approach. I mean, we always fight who's stronger, who's got the bigger dick. You know what I mean? It's like, men are stupid. I can see my daughters. I can see their friends, the male friends are stupid. And the girls are eyes and so sweet. I mean, I love girls. I love girls' word and girls' vision of life. There's no way of fighting. There's no reason for fighting. You always find a way of dealing with things. I strongly think that really women should rule and men should do. You know, it's like when you read stories about the queen and the chevalier, you know, the knights. I strongly think that it should be like that. The queen and the knights. The men are the knights, and the women should be the queens.
Well, since we're not in the Americas, we're here in the Netherlands, do you think it's still appropriate to make a chair which objectifies women?
But this objectifies men as well, as I was saying. There is also the ass of a man. So I like to objectify, let's say, the human beings.
I take that for a no. And that's fine.
No, but seriously, this microphone is a bit strange.
They censored you.
No, it's true. It's a censorship. I was saying that, first of all, it's men and women, so it's kind of balanced. But then, I have it at my meeting table. Can you imagine when all the businessmen come to my studio, very well dressed, often in gray, and they sit on these kind of chairs. Everything creates a very funny situation. They start laughing. And laugh is another thing that opens a lot of doors, I really try to get people down to earth. When you're naked, you cannot lie in some ways, We should all get used to be naked more often.
No, it also says something, my question also tells something about the growing sensitivities in society, and maybe we're getting oversensitive, you think? Because you seem to me like somebody who's very
more
connected to the sign of the times and the zeitgeist, so to say.
I think that oversensitive is the wrong definition. I would say we are more and more scared. And of course the politicians don't help.
There's a man who dares to clap in his own.
I believe there are two strong forces that put people together. One is trust, and the other is fear. And all the politicians are working on fear. You have to be scared of the immigrants coming from Africa. You have to be scared of Mexican coming from the other border. Be scared, be scared, be scared. And that's something that put people together. But they're fucking scared. But trust is another thing that puts people together. Let's hug the people coming from Africa. Mexicans, you do such a good food. Come here, let's learn. Because we have such a horrible diet in fucking United States. What the fuck? Do you ever go to the United States? The only specialty they have is hamburger. Excuse me, but I'm Italian. For me, food is essential. Really, there's a lot of foreign friends, they say, how you spot an Italian? They always talk about food. Which I think is fantastic,
women.
That my mother, I wrote a book called Design Explained to My Mother, okay? and from an Italian, it's a very interesting statement. You know why? Because it's impossible to talk seriously to your mother. Impossible. I was coming back from Milano to my hometown in Lecce, in Puglia, and I was saying, Mom, I did this, I did that, I made these people, I did amazing things. My mom was used to laugh at me and say, Fabio, what can I cook you for dinner? But that was her way of showing me love. The best way. Because she used to feed me since I was born. So going on feeding me was the best way of showing me love. So of course, food is so important. Of course, we talk about food. And whoever doesn't have culture about food, there is a problem. There is a problem.
Yeah, we all know which country you mean. I want to go a little bit back to your work as well. You were art director for Bizazza. You are now currently art director for Driade. You worked for Cappellini. What is the how do you say the vibe, the mentality in Italian design, in the industry, for example? Is it optimistic? Is it fearful? Is it what is the vibe at the moment in Italian design? If there's somebody we should ask, it's you.
Okay, I have to be sincere. So I like to be positive, as you understood from these 20 minutes, 30 minutes we've been talking. I'm a very positive person, okay? I like to put pink glasses upon my eyes all the time. But if I have to face the design topic, I cannot be optimistic in the sense that I can say that it's a good design. I just think that there is a strong transformation in our society. So that dealing just with furnitures is not enough. I mean, people think they can make money with furnitures, but making furniture has never been about making money. They didn't become rich. You know, the Zanotta, the Cassina, these kind of people, they were living honestly and in a good way, but not becoming rich. We have another idea of richness nowadays. You want to be rich, go either on the internet and deal with the Silicon Valley, or go with the drugs with the Colombia and Mexico. You know what I mean? It's like these are the two rich topics, not design at all. So if you want to deal with design, and that's why I try to explain to Italian furniture producers, at least try to deliver a message. You know, why you should make sofas that are all exactly one the same of each other, chairs that are one exactly the same of each other. I mean, I think that Italian companies lost identity because there is no back thinking. The owners think they are entrepreneurs. They should see themselves more like intellectuals, as it used to be. And that's the problem. So, you know, I cannot be optimistic about that. I could be optimistic only if I will start meeting new generation of owners that want to really do something with the work, not only make money. You know what I mean? Yeah. Really, it's about being an intellectual and not an entrepreneur. I mean, it's very easy, the division, right? You know, I know that being an architect or a designer, I would never be rich, but it's not when I selected this job, I knew that. Otherwise, I would be Pablo Escobar or Philip Stark.
Well, you started...
He's the only millionaire. But of course, there's always an exception, right?
Fabio, you started out by pointing very rightfully that a lot of the great designers from back in the day, early 20th century until now, were trained as an architect. Does that have something to do with this intellectual depth that a lot of the Italian companies had, especially in the 60s and 70s, which I think they're still in the DNA of those companies? Does it have anything to do with designers in Italy being, for 99%, trained as an architect, which is a different way of thinking as being trained as a designer?
Yeah, but let's put it this way. In Milano, there was Politecnico, which was a very important school, full of very good teachers. But okay, where are we? We are in Eindhoven. In Eindhoven, there is a beautiful school. You know, Lee Edelcourt was able to create such a jewel. Lots of amazing kids came out from here. Richard is one of them. I mean, Marcel, Martin, and plenty of friends that came out from this amazing academy. You know, so that it's not about being a designer, an architect. It's all about being who there is behind that institution. You know, at my time, no, not at my time, but at the glorious time of Achille Castiglione and stuff, there was Gio Ponti, there were big people. If you have big people behind the school, you can trust the school.
Okay.
You know, it's very easy. So even the Design Academy in Eindhoven, Lee Edelcourt really was an amazing director of the school. You know, this was not even on the map, Eindhoven. Eindhoven was just the place for Philips. And now everybody talks about the Design Academy in Eindhoven, really. And lots of geniuses came out from this place. So you think, so this is a question I always ask to myself. It's about the place or the people. It's a combination of the two things. Because if you're able to make beautiful minds grow up, then you can spot them. I mean, if Richard, Marcel, Martin, all these people, even I heard that even Studio Drift, they studied at the Design Academy. I mean, these beautiful minds were able to grow in the right environment. If you don't have the right environment, even the most beautiful people will die. They will not come out.
No, it's a great pep talk. You start running some hot coals here and run over it. But you're right. I think you're right. But what I mean is something different, that as an architect, you're trained in a different way as a designer. I mean, if I look here, I see I have selected some of your interior projects. I see here also the hand of an architect. I mean,
it's true.
This is thinking in a scale, like in space, and how to divide space and how to define a space that is, in my opinion, shows the hand of an architect as well.
This is kind of true, I must admit. I mean, it's true. Yeah, but it doesn't matter. No. You know, the quality of ideas, you don't see it from the scale of the things you do. You know...
What I mean is an architect thinks in a different way about a chair than, like you said, you go from a spoon to a city.
Exactly.
That's how architects think, and a designer usually thinks about a chair, maybe a spoon, but
Yeah, but you can do a revolution with the chair as well. You know what I mean? So even if Richard will never design a skyscraper, who cares, Richard? I mean, you're doing beautiful things. Who cares? You know, it's not the size. It's not about who's got the longer dick. You know what I mean? It's about who pleases his partner better. You know what I mean?
I've selected some
Okay, now if we were in New York, some police would come and I would go out. Bye, I'm going to prison.
No, sit down. Sit down and talk to me. You're not getting off that easy. You're not getting off that easy. I've selected some images. You know, you've done all different, you've done exhibitions, you've done hotels, you've done cafes, you've done restaurants, you've done a lot of shops, stands in the fairs and everything. You've done the Triennale. If I'm correct, you're also on the board of advisors of the Triennale. What does it mean being on, you know, what does it mean to you especially? Being on the board of advisors of such a great institute is, I think, one of the first design museums in the world.
This is a good point. When I get inside the Triennale, I always say that I feel at home. And you know why? Because you should be the owner of the places that represent something for you. Okay, I try to be more accurate in the description. You know why I think that New York is a magical place? Because New Yorkers are so proud to live there. New Yorkers are the best, advertising for that place, because they love the place in which they live. And that's what should happen with all of us. You live in Eindhoven, you should love Eindhoven. You expose in Triennale, you should love Triennale. That's my house. Fucking Triennale is my house. It's not a museum. It's mine. When I get in there, I really feel the sense of possession over that place. And you should have exactly the same feeling when you get in the Stedelijk Museum in Amsterdam. You know what I mean? It's yours. It's your culture, it's your tradition. It's yours. It's not a museum that belongs to someone else. It's yours. And so for me, it's very easy to be in the scientific committee. I mean, I say, we should do like this. Then, of course, I mean, Stefano Boeri is...
What was the last advice that you gave him? What was the last advice that you gave them?
We had to do the Triennale Design Museum, telling the story of Italian design. And the most important advice that I gave was, let's stop to Memphis. Otherwise, we're going to fight on what arrives to contemporary design. You know what I mean? It's like, it's very difficult. You need historic perspective to judge things. Sometimes we put things on a spot and we burn the thing. You know, we were talking before. It's not nice to do names, but we do names. We are not politically correct. We were talking, sitting at the table, about the Makersvan. You remember these Dutch guys? It's a Dutch group. And I really liked them.
They made the fences, which had like flowers woven into them, and they made this big...
A few years ago, when they came out, I really liked their work. And they said, where the Makersvan went? I mean, what did they do? And they disappeared in some ways. I mean, it's... Why did I say that?
I don't know. You were talking about your advice to the Triennale.
Right. I said
your
that.
Mess.
I
it's
said
your
that.
Mess.
Okay, I said that because you lose the perspective. You lose the perspective. Sometimes you put people under the lights. You say, the Makersvan are the best. They are doing amazing things. You put them on the spot and you burn them. You have to let young designers go slow. You know, it takes time to develop. You cannot put them in the center. It's like, sometimes they're shy, they don't know what to do. So keep quiet. Life takes time. You know, to develop things takes time. I mean, I always say, Louis Barragan, you know, the Mexican architect, right? He won his Pritzker when he was 80. And you know why? Because he was doing his best work when he was 80. Interesting, right? Because we believe that Bjarke Ingels, you know, the new fresh, I mean, Bjarke is my friend, so I love his work. But the freshness that comes from his work, You can do only beautiful things because you're strong and full of energy. Not true at all. I mean, look at Bargan. He did his best works when he was 80. So that there is no rules on this point of view. You're running the marathon, you're running the 100 meters, it's up to you. Everybody's got a different discipline. If you put together the champion of 100 meter and the champion of marathon, what the fuck? How can you compare them? You know what I mean? Yeah. So that don't burn people with difficult situations.
Okay. In your situation, you know, I've run through lots of slides, and I forgot the door handle and maybe a lot of other designs as well. But you're not the most productive designer in the last 25 years.
Totally true. That's my contribution to society.
No, but why?
But you know what? Because I always say, you should do less and do it better. And I really apply to myself. You know, when I was a kid, I liked to play guitar. I wanted to be a musician, okay? And I always thought, when I was a kid, why people does a full CD or disc, or call it as you want it, with 15 songs, if there are always only 2 or 3 which are very good. So after a few years, they do the best of, right? And in the best of course, all the songs are very good, because it's a distillation of the good things from the so-and-so things. I always thought to myself, Fabio, go directly for the best of.
So that's the secret.
So you will not pollute the world. You know what? It's really my little contribution to, you know, when people talks about, you know, you have to be green and respect the ecosystem and stuff. From the very beginning, I was very critical toward myself. I never do a project and say, hey, it's there. It stays on my desk. I say, I show it to a lot of friends. You know what I mean? It's like, it has to pass a strong selection. And I like to receive a lot of criticism about what I do. And you know why? Actually, there is a secret for that. Because I don't draw. I'm not good at drawing at all. So I don't sketch. Whoever is able to sketch is in love with these sketches. They think that their hands are magical. My hands are not magical at all. My hands are really, you know, not even nice actually. But they're strong. And so I believe in ideas. I don't believe in sketches. I don't believe in the fact that I had the inspiration. You know what I mean? What the fuck? What is that? It's nothing. I believe in ideas. And ideas is like democracy, the democracy of ideas. That, is it worth to be made? Okay, let's discuss about it. You know what I mean? And that happened with all my projects. You know, they really stayed on my desk for a while.
I also ran through your website, and I saw this one. This is still a project that you're working on, not, I would say, sketch on, but of course you're not sketching on it. Is it something that's still, you train as an architect, still burning inside? And I saw another project, which I thought a little bit less intriguing, the Desert Rose. I was a little bit more intrigued by this one. Is this something you definitely still want to achieve?
I just finished my first architecture full-scale thing in Abu Dhabi. It's a private villa. I'm quite proud of it, quite proud. If I'm not proud, I finish it. I try to sabotage. And but
so you're very lucky there, Hans.
But yes, I feel like, you know, when I was a kid, I thought I would have never gone to architecture. I thought architecture was so arrogant. You know, you build something that eventually all the neighbors didn't want. You know what I mean? Architecture is arrogant. Then I've always been into movies. I love movies. I love cinema, you know. I moved to New York after the degree in architecture to study movie direction. And movies are amazing. I mean, 90 minutes, 100 minutes, they can change your life. You go in a dark room, you sit with the other people watching in the same direction, and this mix of sound and pictures and motion pictures can really change your life. I mean, if you watch 8.5, whoever viewed in this room didn't watch it, it's a movie that changed your life. But very gently, you know? Just sit for 90 minutes and you let yourself go. You travel. It's like a spaceship. Architecture is arrogant. It's there. I wake up, oh my God, it's there. It never moves. You know, and so I thought that really architecture was arrogant. Imagine that I was doing projects of architecture when I was a student with the explosive inside, you know, with leaving to the people the possibility of pushing a button and destroying completely the building. You know, we don't like it. We don't like it. So you were already, because I always thought, actually, this is something I always thought. If we give birth to objects, we should think also about the fact that they are going to die. You know, the expiration date is on everything now. On every food we eat, on everything we do, there is an expiration date. Why don't we put it to not animated or not edible things? We should put expiring date to a lot of things. You know, when we design a plastic object, we should be aware of the fact that it lasts 600 years. Many of us are not aware of that. But it's a condition. You know that the expiring date is 600 years. Is it worth it to design that thing that will last for 600 years? I mean, it's like really thinking about the death of things is the most green thing you can do. I mean, nowadays, when we talk about sustainability, you know, think about the birth, think about the death. We're going to die. We're all going to die, right? So let things die properly, not in an unexpected way.
Well, there's also an extinction date to this interview. I think we've concluded here. We're going from
Expiring
live.
date,
We're going from
29
live.
seconds, 28 seconds, 27 seconds, 26.
We've gone from death to life, to love, to poetry, to your mother, to your inspirations, the women.
I have 18
I'm
seconds to answer.
I'm very thankful, Fabio, that you gave us an insight into your inspirations and your enthusiasms. And I think, you know, well, I get a little bit of a fight with this machine. Oops,
7 seconds left.
this one. It's going to happen. I got some witnesses here.
I don't know. I mean,
okay.
you know, in life you never know if things are going to happen. I'm still looking for a crazy investor that wants to make this project. You know, it's really like...
Well, word is out.
It's
He only needs an investor.
No, it's really my child's dream, you know, when you say... I don't know if you have it in Dutch, but there's a beautiful image, you know, touching the sky with your own finger. And
No, we put it in the dike.
and it's...
You got wrong there.
Really?
You got the whole wrong
You don't use
story
this
there.
expression.
That's what we do. We don't put it up in the air. We're number one. We stick it in the dike. Thank you, Fabio.
That's the difference between Dutch and Italian.
Thank you. And we're not finished yet. No. We're not finished yet. People are going to get a drink like, whoa. Because we've got one more guest coming up. Lara Bohinc. Come to the stage, please. Can I invite you? Can I have a warm welcome? No. Wait, I'm going to prepare. 1 second.
That's not easy to say.
So now we're really going to get serious. No, it's really, really hot. Can I get you a glass of water, Lara?
Please, yeah.
Well, I can already tell you my first question, and it's not the same as I asked Fabio. That would not be appropriate. So I'll ask it in a different way. Please help us a little bit about introducing yourself. Who is Lara Bohinc?
You want to hear the background, right?
Yeah, a little bit.
Okay, so I come from Ljubljana, from Slovenia, where I studied industrial design. And then I came to London to do metalwork and jewelry.
Metalwork and jewelry.
And jewelry. So we did
metalwork is like welding.
welding. Yes, I learned
Hammering.
all the craft, hammering,
And
spinning,
okay.
all the industrial and all the craft techniques. So I was making all the pieces myself, small and large. So they were kind of vessels, and they were also jewels. And then my big break came in college when I did some headpieces for, I think, the next, you see it on the left, for my friend's fashion show. And they were noticed by a Vogue fashion editor, and she shot them for a cover by Maria Testino. And then people started asking me to do jewelry for their
Then
shows.
you get off,
And so that's how I kind of ended up making jewelry sort of by mistake, really.
So a bit of putting young designers, young talents on a pedestal and showing them, a little bit of that is quite good, actually, you say.
Not bad, right?
Yeah, no. No, I selected some images. I've got the clicker here. You prefer to do it, or you want me to do it?
Okay, I can do it. Where is
it's the opposite. So if you want to go forward,
this one?
you have to do the bottom one. That's forward.
Okay,
Yeah.
all right.
So
So
we
I
see
worked.
him-
So
we
then I
saw-
started working for different brands. I did something for Gucci, and Lanvin and Exte and so on. And then I worked
So
as
it immediately hit off with the jewelry.
quite immediately. I think this was maybe 2 years after college.
Well, I call it
I was
immediately.
I was very lucky.
I was still unemployed 2 years after academy.
But the reason why I started doing my own business is because no one wanted to give me a job. So that was the big reality. And because no one wanted to give me a job, I said, I'll just do it myself. And then people came. So my philosophy has always been build it and they'll come. So it kind of worked.
So all the jewelry were made by yourself, so you designed it and
I
made it?
designed it, I made it, I cleaned the studio, I did everything. I did the accounts, I answered the call.
Yeah, that's when you want to have a
did everything.
business.
Yeah, exactly. So I did everything. So I had a workshop, and then I also started working as a consultant for Cartier, where I was designing for over a decade. So
You were employed by Cartier, or you had your own
I had
company?
my own studio.
You still
and
had to clean and do the...
Yes,
Okay.
exactly. So I wasn't doing the cleaning at Cartier. So yeah, they did the cleaning. So I did designing purely. So I didn't make any pieces. I was just doing the drawings, and they did all the development. Yeah, and that lasted for over a decade.
And then after a decade, you...
After the decade, so I also had my own line of jewelry, and this is the next. I did my own line of jewelry at the same time, and then I started getting really bored with limitations of jewelry. One thing is size, because it always has to be kind of small, it has to be kind of light, it has to be a certain price. You're also very limited with materials, because they are kind of, they can't be too heavy. You have to bracelet can't be too big, so you can't pull it over the coat, and so on. So I started doing objects. I wanted to go back to making bigger pieces, and this was a kinetic object. It was a cigarette smoking box. It had 3 compartments. One was for cigarettes, one was for matches, and one was
Do you think it's still appropriate
to talk about
to design
cigarettes, right?
ashtrays in a world where
Yeah.
people are dying
I know.
from smoking?
I know, especially because my father died of cancer. It's
So sorry to hear that.
But I used to smoke as well. So at that time, I thought it was
So it was
appropriate
made
because
for
I used to
yourself.
smoke. I made it for myself.
You
in a way,
could
yeah.
always say that.
But I would say yes, it's not appropriate. Okay, so don't smoke. So instead of that, I wanted to make this bigger, so I made it into I used the same idea into the table, and this was my first piece of furniture. It was made because the Wallpaper magazine does a handmade exhibition.
Okay, yeah.
And they asked me to make a piece, and they thought I'm going to make something small. I said, no, I want to make something really big. So this was the first piece of furniture, and it weighed 350 kilos.
700 pounds.
Yeah, 700 pounds.
Probably didn't cost 700 pounds.
No, it cost 45,000 pounds.
So it's probably the most expensive piece up till then as well.
It's the most expensive piece of furniture I ever made, and that was my first piece of furniture. So yeah, it was made in a way like a piece of jewelry. It's got the same materials like metal and stone, and in a way it's using similar techniques. Like
So you could almost say that this is sort of a blow-up of a piece of jewelry?
you could say so, yeah. And this is in a way how I approached the furniture at the beginning. I saw it as if I used the same materials, the same techniques of metal forming, stone setting, stone cutting, and so on. It's in a way, it's like a giant piece of jewelry. So, and this table also was moving really nicely, so you could close it. It had a really nice Japanese ball bearing mechanism. Oh, sorry, that's
Yeah, I had it the
this
same.
way.
It's the other way around.
Yeah, it's the other
Maybe
way
if you
around, right? Yeah.
swap it.
So
Then it
this was at Milano at the handmade show.
That was a great opportunity, probably.
It was really
One
good
of the,
opportunity.
if one of the first furniture pieces you
Yeah.
were commissioned to make
Yes.
is with wallpaper. I mean, you go straight from Vogue, Mario Testino, to the wallpaper.
Yeah,
so
but
you have a good sense for the media, I must say.
there was about 12, 15 years in between. So I think I did few things in between.
Do you think the role of the media is very important, like Vogue and wallpaper
Yes,
and Frame and all these other
I
magazines?
think the media is super important. Yeah, I think it's what gives you a window to the world,
Okay.
especially now in the age of Instagram.
Exactly. My next question would be, how many followers do you have on
How
Instagram?
many? I think we have around 13,000. So it's quite
30,000.
13,000. 13.
I find it anybody more than 30,000? There we go. Sold.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, that's
Okay.
impressive. Yeah.
I thought it was quite small.
And they're going to be in 100 more, right?
Okay.
After tonight.
No, image is really important. So I also see always objects in a way from a 2D perspective. I also studied graphic design for quite a while.
Okay.
So I always start with a very simple 2D sketch. So I think if the shape works in a 2D, you're much more likely to develop interesting views from it in 3-dimensional, and because then it works as an image as well.
Yeah. Well, all the images, I went through your
Yeah.
website as well yesterday or the day before, and all the images you see here, everything is very well prepared. So you do take a lot of care to the way you present your work as well?
Yes, I think that's really important. I mean, that's what actually gives it the final flavor. I think one is a beautiful and interesting piece, but the other thing is also a context in which it shows, because that's what gives it sort of like a smell or a flavor.
Yeah,
So I think that's
smell.
really important.
That's a nice description.
Yeah. So this was the second collaboration with the same company that made the table with Lapicida. It was the same techniques of stone cutting, pietra dura with stone setting, and metal forming.
It's sort of, there's a very strong Art Deco
Yes.
feeling to it. Is that a big inspiration to you as well?
I think, I've always been obsessed with somehow geometric forms and kind of deconstructing them and reconfiguring them. And I think this kind of obsession is not just in Art Deco, it happens like in quite a lot of movements, like Bauhaus as well, Art Deco, Memphis. I mean, there's quite a lot of times in the
they say
history.
Art Deco is Bauhaus for people with a lot of money, right?
It's Art Deco,
That's what
it's
people-
decorative Bauhaus in a way,
Yeah.
right? So yes, you could say so.
And this brand Lapicida,
Yes.
I don't know it, and it's probably very stupid of me.
No,
but
it's. I don't think it's a big brand at all. It's a British brand that makes surfaces, so they don't make furniture.
okay.
So they wanted to make furniture, and this was an excuse for them to get some press, because
Yeah,
it's
yeah.
very hard to get some press for kitchen surfaces or floors. So you make furniture and it's a story around it, then it's
Yeah.
much easier. So that's how it started.
So you work in collections, or you usually work with individual objects, and so how does it work? You really work in collections?
I like to work with collections. I mean, maybe that's sort of like a remain from the being connected to the fashion industry, because they work in collections. I kind of like to see things as groups and explore a theme within one collection. So this theme was about marble, stone, setting, reconfiguring geometric kind of forms.
Okay, so it's sort of the table, it's the mirror, it's
Yeah.
the copper
No,
vase.
that's just interior
prop.
styling.
That's just
not
a
part
prop.
of it. Yeah, it's just a prop.
Exactly. So okay, but these kind of configurations and ensembles, that's
Yeah.
usually how you start designing, or that's your
No,
starting
I start
point?
designing pieces, and it's almost like a jigsaw puzzle coming together. Often it's around a certain theme or a thing that would kind of interest me at the time, or it could be a certain technique, or it could be an object or a shape or something. Yeah.
But you do prefer the heavy kind of, you said you went out of jewelry because you prefer to do more heavy and bigger stuff.
Yeah.
Well, it's definitely, I see a lot of stone, a lot of metals.
Yes.
That's even now, that's a concurring element in your work?
No, after this collection hasn't done any stone, but metalwork is definitely a constant.
Okay.
Most of my work is connected to metalwork. So,
Okay.
Yeah, so
Yeah, I'm
you can
curious.
so this was candle holders. So it was small object again with the same collaboration, and this was my showroom at the time, which is also a lot
This
of
is
stone.
your showroom.
This was a showroom. It was now it's not there anymore, but this was a showroom for a while.
Wow.
Yeah.
Quite nice. Where was it in London?
It was in Notting Hill. It
No,
was
okay.
it was an apartment. So it was an apartment, and it was on the ground floor.
So how does it work? Was it somebody lived there, or how?
No, it was my husband's apartment, unfortunately.
okay.
Unfortunately, he never managed to live there because I met him.
That was the one condition, but it's going to be a showroom, honey.
Exactly.
Oh, and I
Yes.
forgot. Okay, but is that like you know, I'm not that familiar I don't go there. I go there way too little to London.
Yeah.
But is that like a familiar formula to make a showroom in sort of an apartment kind of atmosphere?
No, I think that's
Okay.
quite new. I think that's quite new, and I think people like that kind of residential setting because it gives it more like it's almost like heart and soul, and you can. It's not like in an empty showroom. It's not so sales driven. It feels more like
Yeah.
you're stepping into someone's house.
Well,
it's more realistic.
Especially if there's such a beautiful marble floor that
Exactly,
really
right?
relates to
I
your
know,
work.
I know. This was a lucky coincidence, actually.
Yeah, it looks beautiful.
Yeah,
Looks beautiful.
yeah.
Ah.
So, and then this was in collaboration with a Swedish company called Skultuna.
So how does it work? These companies come to you, or do you
Yes.
every Monday morning you send out 200 emails to
No,
every company?
no, I
in-
don't.
in-
No,
in
this,
Europe?
they came to us because my jewelry is very well known in Sweden.
Okay.
And they were looking actually to do some jewelry, and then they came to me and I said, I don't want to do jewelry, I want to do interior accessories. So we developed a line. It was these candle holders, and it was using same techniques as jewelry, which they wanted to use. So it's photo etching, which then gives it this kind of shadows. And then was another collection of desktop accessories,
Beautiful, beautiful.
which is also using same kind of techniques. Yeah.
It's a pity I don't write with a pen anymore. Otherwise,
I know.
I'd have
Most people don't.
You got something for the iPhone as well?
No, I don't. That's
No,
next.
just joking. So you choose here again is glass, and you work with Murano. So you choose the best manufacturers for your work. Where is it made usually?
This was an artist residency in Venice that I did with the Bauer Hotel. So I stayed there for 2 weeks, and I worked in Murano with the glass blowers. And the idea was to represent Venice. So there was a metal base, which represents the foundations upon which Venice is built, very rigid. And the glass is like water because it's hand-blown glass. So that's why they've got these kind of shapes.
And you do a lot of manufacturing. Yes. Do you still do a lot of welding, or the welding days?
No,
are over?
I had a workshop for a long time, and then it was so unprofitable. We were losing money so much all the time. It was literally bleeding us. So then kind of stopped that.
Yeah.
And now everything's made in workshops.
You don't do any productions.
Nothing.
You don't-
No, it's just a design studio.
You
It's
don't
not
make
a
your hands,
workshop.
no dirty hands anymore.
No.
No more brooming.
No, no bruises, no more burns, no more.
No more
chipped
brooming.
fingers, no,
Somebody's making your
nothing.
coffee.
No,
Okay.
no, nothing. No, this is all made in Italy, and lots of the furniture is also made in Portugal. But no more workshop in London.
Do you usually your work works like these? Do you have a gallery, or is it?
Yes, I also work with Fumi Gallery in London. It's completely kind of different part of kind of how it works with the galleries, because they're limited editions, much more expensive pieces, shown at kind of places like Pad or Salon or Miami, Design Miami. So it's completely different kind of game than.
So most of your work is for the the really higher segments of customers.
High-ish, yes, I would say so, yeah. I mean, this is ceramics, so it's kind of a little bit cheaper. And I'd say, like, I don't know, the cheapest pieces are 350 euros.
Okay.
So it's not...
I could afford it.
Exactly.
That's not even high-ish.
It's not 45,000, so that's,
Exactly,
it's
yeah.
not super cheap, but it's
Yeah,
accessible, I would say. So that's why I
Take it
also-
easy for a month. I might
Exactly.
Get one.
But that's why I wanted to do something in more accessible materials, because metal is very expensive material. So I wanted to do something that's a bit more.
So you went to Milano. Where is this?
This was presented in Alcova during Forest Salone, not this Milano, the one before in 2018.
Okay, quite a rough environment, the Alcova for
Yes,
your,
well, that's
your
why
work.
I like that kind of contrast, with the kind of very raw walls and something that's kind of quite crisp and defined.
It worked out well?
Yes, it worked very
okay.
well.
Yeah.
Yeah. So there we also showed. Oh, sorry. So this is more.
No, I had
similar.
it the same all the time.
Yeah, this was a collection was shown in Milano a year before that. It was the lights, and that was the show called Ladies and Gentlemen. Here it's on that table.
Sort of a him and her.
Yeah, him and her.
But then the decent version.
Exactly, yeah. And then this was the collection that was also shown at Alcova. So it was
Yeah.
all metal work, which was
Yeah.
kind of, this is not the Alcova, but was similar kind of environment, very raw concrete and industrial.
We sort of saw a male gaze on a chair earlier on. I'd say this is pretty much a very female design. I don't know why. Maybe I'm
Yeah.
totally on the wrong foot here saying something like that. But this to me looks like a very feminine touch on design. Not because it's like a little boudoir.
Yeah.
But the fineness, the elegance of it. You agree on that?
I agree, yeah,
You feel
no.
like you're very much a female designer.
Yeah, I would agree with that. It's light and quite kind of, I would say the lines are quite feminine. It's lots of circles. I would say circle in general, whenever you use it, it's geometric, but it's almost like an organic form. It's got no angles. So whenever you use circles, especially when you repeat the circles, it becomes almost frothy, like bubbles. So I would say that definitely makes, and the whole collection was called Since the World is Round, so it was all about the circles. So there's circles everywhere. So they are on chairs, and then there was all of the lunar and solar chair, they were all kind of about the round trajectories.
These chairs have been adapted by a company, a collection. They're in production somewhere.
No,
Not yet.
No, not yet.
But
we produced.
let's remember who's our host tonight, right? Let's not forget that. But they look beautiful. They're also high-ish, or I'm just sort of testing now.
I think they're like 2,500 to 3,000 euros.
Yeah, we could. That's probably to elaborate on that. They look beautiful. What's the
Thank
name
you.
of this collection?
Since the World is Round. So,
Since the World is
so
Round.
it's called this chair is called Lunar. The other one is called Solar. One is called Orbit. The console was so Solar, Lunar, and here you got all of them. The one on the right is called Celeste, and the console that you saw was also called Celeste. So it's all about planets and their movements. Yeah, and round shapes.
It's really beautiful.
Thank
It
you.
is. Yeah. And this is your latest collection?
No, this was the collection was launched in Milano 18, and also at London Design Festival. Then we launched these two tables. They're called Orbit tables. It's a tea table.
What's the material on
They're metal, so it's steel based in copper. It's copper with
copper
verdigris.
and the how do you say, the surface of the table, that is?
It's verdigris. It's verdigris, so it's a patina. It's a copper patina.
Oh, that's a copper as well.
Yeah.
Ah, wow.
So, that's the beauty of metal, because you can achieve many different colors. It's very durable. It's very sustainable, almost infinitely recyclable, and you don't have to use so much of it to achieve kind of relative lightness and rigidity as well.
Yeah. Yeah.
And this was the same. It was verdigris copper and steel base. And then this was the lighting collection called Planetaria, which was launched this Milano.
Okay.
Yeah, and this collection came from the idea how you create a 3D objects from a two-dimensional object. So what I've done, I've taken lots of cutouts of circles, I folded them, and then I rotated them around each other 3 times, so you get a globe. And then I've hollowed out that globe, and I put another sphere inside, which I realized makes a cage. So these glass balls, they're moving inside, and that's what actually refracts the light.
So this reflection on the walls is moving as well?
No, because the ball is not moving unless it moves inside, but it's very heavy. It's solid glass. So if you move the ball, it will change the reflection, but there's no mechanism inside the ball.
No. That would have been too much, I think, as well.
That would be too much, right?
Yeah.
It would be like disco.
Definitely. Yeah, exactly.
So the LED lights are in the frame. So the actual source of the light is outside. So the ball is just acting as a sort of like a lens that reflects it. Or on the left side, you've got a metal ball inside. So that's why it looks like a fiery lava.
So you've made quite a journey from welding in Ljubljana to jewelry in London, and now you're becoming sort of a global brand because you work in Switzerland and maybe in the Netherlands or all different places.
Yeah.
We've seen some ambitions for the future, going up. Do you have like is there a goal for you or something where you say like, okay, this is my next dot on the horizon where I'm going?
You know, I have to say, I just love creating objects. I love exploring different materials, different shapes, different techniques, industrial processes, shapes, ideas. There's so many things that interest me. So I'm always working simultaneously on a lot of different ideas. So it's not one idea. I always have different things that I come back to all the time. So which one would fall out at the right time is like, it depends on when it's ready, you know. So there's a lot more things to come.
So keep track of the media.
Yeah, keep track, yeah.
Keep track of the Instagram.
Yeah.
It was really great talking to you, Lara.
Thank you.
Thank you all for coming.
Thank you.
Yep. That's well. That's very, very generous. That's actually applauding for yourself, because I said thank you all for coming. But now I want another applause, a much, much bigger and louder applause for Fabio and Lara. Thank you all. And of course, for our host, Lensvelt, here tonight, and making it possible to have another one, and the first of the international editions of the May I Have Your Attention, please? And then I have, as always, there's even an expiration date to this evening. That's the sadness. But the good news is, at a Lensvelt event, there's always a start after the ending. So there are drinks in the back. I hope to see you all at the back. And especially I hope to see you at the next edition of May I Have Your Attention, please? Because we will be back. Thank you all.